Welcome to the Sober Podcast. I am your host, Jamie Brickhouse. And in honor of Memorial Day and all the veterans lost in serving our country, we have got sober celebrity guest J.R. Weaver out of Costa Rica. J.R. is an Army veteran, the CEO and founder of Recovery Revolution, an award-winning author of the Addiction Manifesto, community affairs officer for Costa Rica Recovery, and a writer for Recovery Today magazine. JR has been in recovery since November 10th, 2017, and is here to recover out loud. Thank you for joining us on the Sober Podcast, JR. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, thanks for your service to the country. How long were you in active duty?
How long I did? A total of 8 years. 3 years active, 5 years in the reserves and National Guard.
Okay.
1987 to 1995.
Okay. Oh, cool. And, many veterans struggle with substance abuse and mental health. Did your service in the Army go hand in hand with your sobriety and addiction?
It did. It did. I was like so many other veterans. I found myself the day that I left active duty was the day that I realized that I had lost a huge support system that was, structured for veterans because
Right.
it's such a tight knit community that, you live together, you train together, you work together. It's like 24/7, 365. And these are the guys that, you go to war with, that, you would die for, so losing that support system really affected me once I got out, which at the time I couldn't fully understand it because I'd left active duty to go to enroll in college, and I thought I would breeze through college. And I found myself lost. I was like, without my uniform, I didn't know who I was anymore. And I found myself, I was back in my hometown, but I felt like I was a stranger in a strange land. It's like I couldn't really identify with anybody or anything anymore. It's like, I kept everybody at arm's distance. I wouldn't let anyone get close to me. So the only thing that really I could think of doing was to drink alcohol, because that was one of the things in active duty was we trained hard and we played hard. So
Right.
so it was my go-to at the time, and it started drinking.
But I suppose it sounds like within the confines of the service, if your addiction was there, it sounded like it was kind of reined in with the play hard, work hard, or work hard, play hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, as long as you could get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do 100 push-ups, run 5 miles, they didn't care what you did the night before. But I found in the civilian life, it was totally different. It was like, I'm enrolled in college my freshman year, and it was like I couldn't sit still in the class. I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate, and I was pretty much uncomfortable in my own skin, and so it led to some late night drinking, and it started to turn into day drinking. It was between classes drinking. I ended up spending about 7 years in college burning through my Army College Fund GI Bill with really nothing to show for it. And it came to the point to where at the end it was like, I have to get out of Charleston, to get out of this place, because I saw the negative behavior patterns forming, and I was like, well, let me move up to New York.
Yeah.
I had relatives up there, and I moved up there, used my military experience to land some great jobs, some great opportunities, for someone with really basically no work experience outside the military. But, these companies were willing to take a chance on a guy like me. And these were fantastic jobs, high paying jobs. And at the end, it was the alcohol that caught up with me. Again, it was like, drinking. It was limited to the weekends. Then it started, coming in during the week. And that's when, I started calling out work. I was hungover all the time, and maybe fast forward 5 years into this pattern. if it got to the point to where the alcohol wasn't taking me to where I wanted to go fast enough. So that's when, I let the hard drugs come into my life. And that's when my life really started spiraling downhill. It ended up losing a great job, losing the place that I was staying, and I ended up having
The
to move
drugs
back
just
to
sped
South
it up.
Carolina. Well, right, like you say, it's a progressive disease. It just keeps taking until you have nothing left. So I ended up packing up my truck, my Jeep, and driving back to South Carolina, thinking, okay, I'll leave this, the people, places, and things behind again, and when you know it, like the first couple weeks back home, it's like I found the dope spots, and it just continued on and it got worse. Before the end of the first year back, I found myself doing my first prison bid.
Really?
So
Okay.
it really took over
It
my
took you,
life. I
it took
mean,
you down low. Yeah.
yeah, it hit me hard, and being a veteran, thinking that, oh, I could figure this out. They've trained me for stuff like this, but the reality is we weren't trained for anything like that. We're trained for enemies that we can see and fight against, but when the enemy's inside your own head, it starts taking on a different meaning. It's like I was totally unprepared. And it's like no matter how hard I tried, I kept failing, and my life just kept, deteriorating. It started affecting my relationships with my family, with my friends. It was pretty soon my addiction had isolated me again, and I ended up being homeless. Bouncing in and out of jails for like the next 10 out of the next 20 years, and then it was at the end in 2017. I ended up catching felony charges in 3 different counties, and that's when I finally reached out to the VA hospital in Charleston and admitted that I couldn't do it on my own. I mean,
Yeah.
I needed help. And fortunately, they got me into a drug court program, and that changed my life. I mean, I was able to graduate that program, no issues, and I used that to become a senior mentor for Veterans Treatment Court in Charleston. I got to start up my own 501(c)(3) recovery, nonprofit. I was able to do the Vet Talks speaking engagement in 2019. I wrote the book. I mean, recovery really changed my life.
And you came back
And
in a big way. So do you think that's, so when you left the armed services back in the mid 90s, you felt like you lost your identity and sense of purpose, right? And
correct.
then the alcohol and the drugs spiraled out, as you just told us, in a big way. So after you got sober, what gave you a sense of purpose and identity? And I think you just started telling us about it, but
Okay, I'm a firm believer that the opposite of addiction is connection. So
mm-hmm.
when I committed to treatment at the VA hospital, it was a combination of the treatment and being in treatment with other veterans. It was something that I felt like I was missing since I left active duty. So being around other veterans really pulled me up, and it's amazing. Once you start feeling connected, you find a new identity, you find purpose. So it's sort of like my life work now is to keep giving back, because we both know that that's the best feeling in the world is when you're doing service work.
Absolutely. And to keep it, you've got to give it away, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I believe it.
Great. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break and stick with us. We'll be right back talking to JR.
Hi, I'm Sonia, the founder of Everbloom. We help you change your relationship with alcohol through connection and conversation. We provide small group meetings where you can share your story and get the encouragement and support you need to achieve your goals. Whatever your goals are, we're a judgment-free space. You can find us at joineverbloom.com, BLUME, and try us out with a free meeting.
And we're back talking to JR. If someone was struggling with losing their sense of self and purpose, what advice would you give them? And well, you know what? Before we go there, you hit on a key issue that for a lot of people in this country, which are veterans in particular, who have such a strong sense of purpose and identity in the armed services, and that you can lose that when you're no longer in that world. And then I think there's so many people, and I had that too, when people have so much of their identity and purpose locked up in their career, in their job, and are sometimes in a relationship. But I remember I experienced that when I got fired from a job. I had gotten to the top in my career, and was fired because of drinking, and it wrecked me. So it's a great topic because so many people have to deal with this. And that said, I'll go back to the question: what kind of advice would you give to someone struggling with that loss of identity?
Okay. My advice would be to keep trying, to keep picking yourself up. I mean, each time, I failed, it was like another challenge for me to pick myself up, maybe even, like they say, our rock bottoms have basements. I mean, I thought I hit my rock bottom so many times, but in the end, when I was facing a lot of prison time and faced with the challenge, either I can, pick myself up and get my life together, or, I could accept my fate. And personally, I believe that each one of us goes through what we go through to grow through it. I mean, like I heard an interesting quote
Oh,
the other
wait, say
day.
that again. I like that. Whenever someone says something, I want to hold on to a good little nugget. Say that again.
Each one of us goes through what we go through so we can grow through it. And
Right.
I heard a great quote the other day in a Zoom. It was the guy was like, define who you are by who you want to be. I mean, and it resonated with me. It's like, do I want to be this addict, this person struggling with substance use disorder, or is there more to me than what I was believing was my destiny, to die out there on the streets? And it came to the point to where it's like, I am better than this. I do deserve to be happy, because we both know that addiction will blind you. That temporary escape from reality also, escapes us from life. We may numb the pain, but we also numb the joy.
Yeah.
So we're just in that maintain phase, and to me, it's like the
Oh,
last
I
time
love
I had.
that too. That just about addiction. I've never heard it put that way. Is that, I was one of those drinkers that I drank because it was fun, and it was to make, a part of a fun party funner, et cetera. And then drank to numb the pain as things got on. But like you said, you end up numbing the joy, which I think is so true, and that a lot
Yeah, I
of
know.
people lose sight of.
Yeah, and that's addiction's MO is to get us to believe all of this stuff. Like, oh yeah, I love you. But I'm like, what kind of love is this, that you're destroying my life, that you're putting me back and forth and behind bars, that I'm separated from my family, they disown me, I'm living off the streets, living in back seats of cars, sleeping on floors. I mean, to me, that's not love. I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah, no. And you when you hit rock bottom, you went back to the VA hospital, and found a lot of help. Is that right?
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was
And since it's Memorial Day weekend, what kind of uh, advice do you have specifically to veterans who are suffering from alcohol and substance abuse?
ask for help. I mean, a lot of us
Or
in the
rather, where can they
military.
find it? I mean,
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, you contact the Veterans Crisis Line. You can contact any local VA in your area. I mean, I was speaking with a veteran yesterday that was in crisis, and as bad as I wanted to help him, but I was in Costa Rica. He's in Michigan. It's
mhm.
like my resource knowledge is limited to his area, so I reached out to the Veterans Crisis Line and had them schedule a phone call with them so they could help them. I mean, veterans, it's a tight knit community. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, we bleed together, we sweat together. So I mean, each vet helps helping another vet. I mean, even if you hit rock bottom, I mean, if you think about it like this, rock bottom is a great place to rebuild your life because you're getting rid of all the negative things, and you can rebuild your life as with things that actually give back to you, that feed your joy, feed your happiness.
Yeah.
Instead of letting it just beat you down like it has so many others. I mean, I look at the overdose rates, and it's insane. I think it was 112,000 last year. I mean, it's
Yeah,
if
it's
we
mind
don't,
boggling.
if we don't start working together RCOs, VSOs, helping each other out, because we all have a role to play to help the next person. I mean, that's your basic 12 step.
Yeah, since it is a Memorial Day weekend and we want to honor all those who have lost their lives in service, have you personally mourned many lives of other vets? And if so, what process helps you to get through the feelings?
I've had a few veteran friends that have passed away, during active duty, and afterwards, that I've met, while in treatment. And it's tough. It's like you're losing a brother, or you're losing a sister. It's that tight knit of a family, and you know I just wish that there was more support out there for veterans. I mean, you probably heard of the 22 vets a day committing suicide, but how
Yeah.
many vets are they not listing in there that overdose from drugs? I mean, that number is probably 75 a day. Then it becomes a public outrage. But I'm like, why do they separate them?
Right. And all of those suicides, how many are alcohol and drug related?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I read an interesting report about people in prison, right? I think they said like 60% are in there for illegal drugs or drug related crimes. And I'm like, well, about the other 30%, were they trying to get drugs by doing whatever they were doing? I
Right.
mean, yeah, to me, that's the best place to get people treated, you know?
Have you seen more loss of veterans or loss of addicts and alcoholics in your life?
Regular, normal people, I have. I mean, I'm part of the Charleston recovery community, and I've known about maybe 10 people in the since I got sober in the last 5 years that have overdosed.
That's tough. Tell us a little bit about Costa Rica recovery.
Okay, I was blessed. I mean, I was, like I was telling you earlier, that I was doing a lot of things for veterans while I was in South Carolina, and through one of the groups that I was attending, they had reached out to me asking if I was interested in becoming a veterans counselor for Costa Rica recovery. And and this was while I was working at the VA hospital. So I was like, well, no, I have a great job, I have great federal benefits. This is where I got sober. This is where I could do the most, good. But if you guys are inviting me to fly down here and put me up for a week, I'll take the trip. You know, so it's kind of weird. I come down here, and it's like I'm walking around for the first day, and I'm like, this is a beautiful city. San Jose is such a beautiful city. It's so green, jungles, mountains, and all that. So I get into the center, and it's like as soon as I walk through the door, I hear laughing and laughing in the background, and I'm like, and it took me back to the time when, in my early recovery, when I was talking to another veteran, I was like, one of the things that I missed the most while I was out there running the streets was laughing. Was heartfelt laughing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it kind of touched me, and then it's like I got to look at their programs. I got to look at their veterans program, which is very unique. They're the only international treatment center that can offer free treatment to any military service connected veterans. so I got to meet the staff, and the staff, they were just as passionate as I was. And I'm like, this is a place where it feels like home. It's like everything that I've gone through to get here
Mhm.
was for this reason. So I was talking to the executive director, and he kept trying to get me to give him a solid answer whether or not I would wanted to be part of it. And I was like, yes, I do. So and then it's like, I mean, it was like a match made in heaven. I love what I do. I love helping veterans. I love preaching the power of recovery and how it could turn someone's life around. Because
Yeah,
I mean, like you and I are both living proof that recovery works. I mean, look at our lives. Look at how my life used to be.
absolutely. No, I
Yeah,
wouldn't. Well, obviously, we wouldn't be here speaking
yeah, absolutely.
on the Sober
Yeah,
podcast if
absolutely.
we weren't. But yeah, it's so true. So much of my life. But I like how your story um, comes back to the brotherhood, sisterhood, the familyhood of the veteran community. It was kind of leaving it. Left you devastated, but then when you hit bottom, you went. That's where you found recovery help, and then you found this paradise in Costa Rica of recovery.
Yeah, that's one of the. I don't know if they do it different now, but back when I was leaving active duty, there was, or even while I was in active duty, there was no meetings, no nothing like that, no nothing about addiction. You get a random drug test here and there, but that was pretty much it. That was the limit of our knowledge that addiction is a disease, that the alcohol or whatever will grab you and steal your life from you. So I hope they're doing it different today. I'm not 100% on that, but I believe they are. So I mean, it's if you can prepare someone a little bit better, let them know about programs that are available
Yeah.
for veterans, then to me that's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Something we like to ask all of our guests is the final question is what's the best lesson you've learned in sobriety and how did it help you?
Just show up. I mean, to me, showing up each day, like when I was in my first year of recovery, I had to move back in with my mom. I had to walk a mile to the bus stop, to take two buses to get downtown to get to my treatment and my drug court classes. I showed up each day, rain or shine. Even days I was injured, I walked that mile to that bus stop because I knew that if I stayed in bed, my depression would kick in, my anxiety, then pretty
Yeah.
soon I'd be trying to find drugs or alcohol. So just show up. I mean, you just like suit up and show up.
Yep. It was implicit in what you said, but showing up is a lot of times people think, okay, yeah, show up for work, show up for your spouse, show up for your family, but show up for yourself first, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and and I felt that today myself. I was going down the self-pity spiral, and this isn't working out, and that hasn't happened. But just by getting out of bed, I work for myself, I work at home, so but leaving the house, going to an in-person meeting, going, working out at the gym, and then just get moving, keep showing up, and just start doing something, and things fall into place. And you don't have time to wallow in what you think is not right. Right.
Right. Don't suffer the pity party.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, JR, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. And again, happy Memorial Day, and happy Memorial Day to all the vets out there. And to all our listeners, thank you for your continued support. Visit us on soberpodcast.com and all places where you find major podcasts. Leave us a review, sign up for the mailing list. You will also find contact information in the show notes for our guest, JR. I am your host, Jamie Brickhouse. You can find me every day on TikTok, where I tell a true story in high heels. And I'm the author of Dangerous When Wet, a memoir of booze, sex, and my mother. Signing out from Sober Podcast. Tune in for another show next week. Thank you.